One thing. So Debbie, definitely take two. The floor is now definitely yours.
Okay, so I've got 5 minutes. So I hope I don't get this completely wrong. I don't think there is any right or wrong. So yeah, so mo movability had been going for quite a while, and we started up in COVID, and we were kind of fumbling through and not measuring anything. And as we got funding for little bits of funding for various things, we were expected to provide information back to our funders. And that was done in quite a haphazard way. And so we did have one funder that gave us a guide, and we started off doing little feedback forms, so little surveys and feedback forms, and that gave us some data. But we just had it on the forms. We kind of didn't know what to do with it. So that was that. And then we had testimonials and things like that. But we just had all this stuff and didn't really do anything with it. We had one funder that had their own little impact tool. So we did have a nice little report. And then Tim, who is my mentor, Unlimited, Tim told me about the impact tool. And I thought, wow, I just had great big like wow moments. So I had a meeting with Cecile and we talked about it. And I said, yes, thank you very much. I'd love to come on board and give it a go. So we did. Um, I have to say that the whole experience has been really great. We have a challenge that our demographic are quite technophobe. And asking them to fill in the form was quite a problem. Asking them to do anything online, some of them don't, they have these little push button phones, and that's it. So we developed a different way to do that. We print out the forms, we take them to our classes, people fill them in, and then we input the data. So that's the way that we've got around the technical issues of our demographic having to fill the form. I've got a volunteer that helps me to input the data, which is great. Few meetings with Cecile, we talked about the data. The one thing we had to meet the requirements of our funders. Am I talking really quickly?
No, this is
We
fine.
had to meet the requirements of our funders. What I really liked about the tool is we were able to adapt the questions that were being asked to also tie in to meet the requirements of our funders. So it's been a fantastic journey in being able to develop a form through this impact tool that really works for us, really suits and meets our needs. We're still at the early stages. I'm just looking at my notes. So, yeah, we're still at the early stages. We've just had a new website made. So we were lucky enough to get funding from Unlimited to have our website revamped. And we have a social impact page on our new website. And we're hoping to fill it up with lots of data from the impact tool. So still at early stages of getting that data out, but we're hoping to use it to fill that. How am I doing?
Fine. So we're just about halfway through.
Okay, so right, okay, that's great. If I could go back in time, I wish we'd found it sooner. So as we've been going, a lot of our clients have experienced massive changes in their mobility, in their well-being, and I wish that we captured their earlier data, so where they were before they started the classes as to where they are now, because I think we would have some amazing data to share. I'm hoping that we can use the data to go to bigger funders, to maybe go to local authorities, and use that data to show our impact. We're already working with social prescribers, but I'm really hoping that we can, in time, have lots of good data that we can win bigger contracts with local authorities. Yeah. So what we've got at the moment, what we had on our old website was we just had all of our blogs and our news, and you could go into the news and read, for example, one of our lovely clients, we did a spotlight. We did spotlight on Paula. She's housebound, and she talked about her journey with us and how she'd actually managed to get out the house and fulfill one of her dreams and go to a concert. So we did a whole spotlight on that. So we had all the stuff there, but we didn't have it in one area on one page. So to have that impact page And to be able, we're so looking forward to being able to fill it up with data from this impact tool.
Nice, thank you. Debbie, I just had one quick kind of question idea for you before we move on to our next speaker.
Mhm.
So you mentioned about, your wish list, if we could offer you the magic wand to go back in time and change it to start again, about capturing stuff sooner. Is there an option that says you could go back and retrospectively build case studies from people you've supported before as part of that bridging piece? Because stories are important because they tell us why stuff's important. The data is important because it tells us how big and how far it's happening.
Yes, yeah, yeah. What we can do and what we've been looking at, so the forms that I talked about in the early days, the surveys that we used to do and the feedback forms that we used to collect, I've got them all. It's got a watch about this thick of the original forms. So and we know our clients very well. We know most of our clients. New clients, it's easy because we're capturing them. Now we have this tool, we're capturing them from the start, and then moving forward, we can get that data. But it's the clients that have been with us since the year dot,
Mm.
and it would be so lovely to be able to get that impact of where they started and where they are now.
So for
We do
those of you
have the
starting out,
information.
yeah, I say for those of you
Yeah,
starting out, then heed Debbie's kind of wish and say, start capturing it sooner.
yeah, yeah. We have got it. It's just we need to find a way, and maybe Cecile, we can have a chat about that. But we need to find a way to get their original starting point into the tool.
Great. And we will come back to the tool for show and tell in a moment. So thank you, Debbie. Next up, those, thank you for kind of sharing that story. Next up, in terms of the roster of as we go through, is Amy. So Amy, you're up next on the list. 5 minutes, however you want to use it.
Yeah, lovely. So obviously I'm Amy. I run a small community interest company called Amala Wellness. We specialize in yoga, gentle yoga, chair yoga and exercise, Tai Chi, meditation, primarily for older adults, but it's really for anyone who just wants a gentle modality of exercise and wants to learn how to relax and how to meditate and just, yeah, and some physical activity thrown in there as well. Um, so I started just before lockdown, and then during lockdown and after lockdown, we got noticed by social prescribers. I'm only one person. So people were like, would you do a class in this area, in that area? So got a member of staff, set up as a kit, got a member of staff, and then it's grew to where we have 4 teachers, an admin assistant, and myself now directors. Our team now teach 27 classes across Teesside, a lot in socially deprived areas. We do a lot of work with social prescribers. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So what were the questions? So, why the dashboard? Just because we all know it's an absolutely amazing tool. Before venturing down the kick route, I used to be a scientist and a science teacher. So I always enjoyed data and, how data is used to see pictures and bigger pictures and things like that. And I think for me, the tool basically brings a lot of elements together. So you've got the qualitative data that's really important, like videos, pictures, testimonials, spotlights, things like that. But for me, because we've grown and we need bigger funders now to support us longer term, I think the monetary aspect of it has actually blown my mind. It makes me a little bit emotional. And yeah, it just helps to give that bigger picture when you need that kind of quantitative data, and it just does that so well. And also, I'm just going to get the screen up. So the beneficiary feedback is really, really useful as well, where it says, is there anything more we can do to help you in our programs? And it gives us wonderful ideas because we're looking to become more sustainable without relying on funding. one of the ways we're looking at doing that is with workshops, day retreats, things like that. So people put in there, we want more meditation, we want more relaxation, we want more breath work. We want to learn how to use exercise bands more. We want to learn how to use exercise balls more. Can we learn how to use weights in class? All of this is a wonderful thing that we can't fit in our classes in an hour, where we can hopefully use workshops to teach these things for people who want to do that and learn about that, where we can bring those unreserved funds in without relying on funding as much. Also, we do a lot. We have a once a month stoppy back. There's no alcohol, but a lot of tea and coffee and hopefully good company, which our students really love. And people have said they want more of that as well. So being able to see that reflected in anonymous surveys means that we can go to funders and say, this is what people want when we're trying to expand and things like that. So I've had a bit of to and froing from Sport England, where we're having to prove that for our next round of funding, we're expanding. So little things like that can show that we've got that data, that feedback, so that hopefully we can get that funding to just grow a little bit more, become a bit more sustainable, but support people in the way they want to be supported as well. Yeah, in hindsight, as always, retrospectively, wish this had existed when we started, because we've been going for 5 years now, which again blows my mind. But it's like Debbie with movability. We have some wonderful stories, but we do capture them. But it's just bringing everything together basically for that bigger picture that, when you're going for bigger pots of funding, it's what people want to see,
Right.
So yeah,
Thanks, Amy.
if that's okay.
Is there anyone got any kind of queries you'd like to put, anything you want to kind of prod or poke a bit in terms of that Amy's journey there that she shared with us? I think it's really interesting, Amy, kind of hearing how you shared there, to say you started off using the tool, and how the tool has allowed your enterprise to start to capture insights and feedback from the community in a way that it wasn't able to before. People didn't feel able to share before. And that's allowed you to expand into new directions and new activities that otherwise would have been lost. So it's not just the impact of what you're doing now, it's helping to amplify and create new opportunities for impact and growth into the future.
Yeah. It's something that we don't have the capacity to do at the moment, but my mentor Kyla mentioned as well. When you look at the data, it gives you opportunities, because there's a page, of demographics. Yeah, like gender, for example, 87.1% of the 255 responses we've had are female. So, there's opportunity to perhaps get more men involved. Same with like ethnicity, things like that, there's potentials to branch into other areas in those respects as well. We don't have the capacity to do that, but I just thought it would be nice to share that it gives you that option with what my mentor said as well. If we were looking to expand, how can we reach areas that we're not reaching at the moment? Yeah.
And it gives, I think it's that sense, isn't it? It helps you create those new question prompts to say, why aren't we reaching more men? What would we have to do? Which helps with future cycles of planning. So rather than just how do we keep with the same old, it's what else could we be doing? How do we know those are the right things to do? Your background as a teacher, particularly science, let's build that hypothesis, let's test it, let's experiment, let's then review and build a better kind of test tube rack to work with it. Thanks, Amy. And again, really kind of encouraging as well to hear that, your thing as well was, if we could go back, why didn't we have it sooner? So Cecile, what I'm kind of picking out here is people are saying they kind of wanted to make a time machine to kind of go back, so to drop it all in sooner. So James, as we come to you in a moment, I think I'm going to be a bit mean and say, when we get to your point in the brief about if you could go back and do it again, you are not allowed to say, I'd have had it sooner, please, in terms of making it available, just to put you on the spot a bit. But other than that, you've got free reign.
Thank you. I actually do have a different answer to that.
Excellent.
It sort of stems to the same thing, but it's a different reason why.
Okay.
So, hi everyone. I'm James, and I'm the founder of an online gym and community called Jim's Gym. I've been with Unlimited for just over a year. So I just finished my startup sort of initial year. So starting up award came to an end just a month ago. So I've just this Sunday applied for my second round of the Scaling Up Award. Fingers crossed. Ooh. So that's just gone in. And that kind of so basically Jim's Gym is it's an online platform. It's aimed at people over 55. It's aimed at I'm a personal trainer. I work exclusively with people over 50, generally speaking, one to one. But Gym's aimed at a little bit of a sort of an older demographic. And ultimately, everyone that I work with, generally speaking, is through injury recovery or illness, or for the best part, and what I enjoy doing the most is helping people find enjoyment through getting fit. So most of the people I work with are just people that would never ever see themselves in either a gym environment or have never really found something that works. They know they should be doing something. I think COVID sort of, in a way, helped a lot of people realize that they should be doing more, but just have no idea where to sort of start. So Jim's Gym is sort of, for me, it's always been about this space that's sort of bridging the gap between knowing that we should be active and actually helping people find a way of engaging in physical activity. So my biggest difference to I think a lot of fitness platforms is that whilst a lot of people sell the benefits, the health benefits. So we all know that we're going to be stronger for in later life. It's good for our bone density. It's good for our heart health. It's good for our balance and all these sort of things. And that's great. But I think that that's something that's the message of that is driven so hard into us that actually it's not the thing that really gets people motivated to be more active. We all know the benefits, but there's a lot of people out there that just don't exercise. So Jim's Gym is about creating not only a fitness experience that is something that people look forward to in every session, but also something that kind of keeps them coming back for more. And we do that by the exercise. It's all really good fun. We run 14 live classes a week: Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates. I do strength and fitness classes. And dance exercise as well. But then we've got this community element as well, which is a really important part of Jim's Gym, and it's growing out. So we have a dietitian that comes in, talks to members. We've just started the Jim's Gym book club. We're just about to start art classes, and we're also going to introduce some language classes as well. So mental health in terms of mental exercise as much as it is physical. So that's Jim's Gym. The motivation to do the impact tool was again through Tim. Tim's your biggest sort of what would you call it? Getting royalties, I think. And basically, I hit a point of sort of substantial growth in February, really substantial growth, and there's kind of a bit of crossover as to what would I do differently here? Ultimately, this growth came out of nowhere. It wasn't expected, but I was set up to take on this sort of huge influx of new members. And at that point, the opportunity arose to get a continuation, our continuation funding. Is that what it's called? That was called. It's called, isn't it? Through Unlimited, the continuation funding. So there's a sort of a secret pot of money that your support manager can put you forward for in a case of an emergency, essentially. And Tim put me forward for this, but I was rejected based on the fact that I could not prove my impact. There we go. So having spoken to Tim, yeah, we kind of got put in touch with Cecile, and we had to put something together pretty quickly to see if we could navigate this situation that we're faced and obviously overcome it. And obviously that filled me with so much dread. I'm a very young business, really, and under a year. And I thought that this was going to be a colossal amount of work based on, everything else that's been going on. Yeah, but ultimately had to follow the process. So I did, and I was introduced to Cecile, and we kind of got everything in place. And it was super, super easy and super straightforward. I'm an online business, so fortunately, most of my members are relatively savvy. Certainly, didn't have any issues, but we worked everything out. We didn't really make many amendments to the questionnaire or anything, and we got it out. And within about 24 hours, we had 100 responses, which was just remarkable, quite frankly. And it started to paint this just unbelievable picture of what was going on in my business, of which I felt like, I think most of us feel like we're not doing much or whatever, and we're all working a lot and doing so much, but you never really see the impact that you're having until you do something like this. So it's really important, and having the numbers come back at you is really big moment. So I could go into this a lot more, but I'm sort of trying to be a little bit quick here as well. But when we did get the data back, also we used the data. I worked with a PR agency, and they ran with it, and it created so much interest when we put out a story about it. So obviously, taking that data, using it on your website, using it for local press, local news was something that we capitalized on. And now I'm also selling into retirement villages, health insurance companies, that type of thing, and I'm sort of made a whole space for it, just like on the website that Debbie showed us. I've included it all into sort of presentations and things that I'm sharing with people to use data that way. So just to go back in time, and it is the same. Like, yeah, we should have done it earlier, but I'm only a young business, but that shouldn't be overlooked. The point is that you never know what's going to be around the corner. So, had I been better prepared for it, then I probably would have had, some more funding to help me in this first year, and it wasn't there for that. So it's a learning. I know it's the same answer, but it's a bit different. Like, you never know what's around the corner, and having the data there and information at hand is would have put me in better stead than it did, but not negatively really. But yeah, so I think that's it.
Nice. I think there's always the concern, isn't it, about, goes back to the early point about there's 101 other things that are pressing on our time. And we have to have a system to prioritize it and action stuff. And if we're a fledgling starting out, that system is normally, if we don't do it, how much money will we lose? So until you'd had that tipping point of someone saying, you can have this cash, but you need to have this in place, suddenly goes, okay, crikey, we've now got to rush in. But it's encouraging to hear that. Normally with groups, what we hear is, oh yeah, we did it, we were forced to do it, we weren't forced to do it, but it was someone else's timescale and agenda, and it felt bad, and we weren't quite sure what to do with it after we got it. This time around, because of how the tool's been designed, because you had that wraparound support in place, it flowed really well. So thank you for sharing that, James.
No incentives. I don't know what. How do I put this? I mean, I'm really lucky with my members. So it's only about. This morning I've just hit 250 members on Jim's Gym, and I just checked, I had 110 responses, but I think I had a really good response. I'm really lucky. What I'm building here is really quite special. I'm really priding myself on, there's so much in between the classes. My phone's going constantly. I've got this WhatsApp. I've built this kind of WhatsApp community or community through WhatsApp community. So it's really sort of easy for people to use, and it's just a complete buzz all the time. And we sort of encourage this kindness. And what I'm building for Jim's Gym is that it's so much about them. It's not about me. It's about what they want, what they get, and what it's sort of tailored to them. It's their platform. I'm just there to sort of make it all work and pull the strings, but it's theirs. So for me, it's just about they want it to succeed. So when I ask them to do something like that, they're all like, yeah, of course, like, yeah, of course. And, it doesn't, it doesn't really seem like a hardship. I mean, it's really important. It's not just one place that I send it out. I speak to people about it in classes, just little, I don't make a massive thing about it, but, the impact emails come out, don't miss it. Like, please, it's really great. It really helps us like develop what we're going to be doing in the future, really pad it out, making sure it's all about them. It's all about them all the time. Put it in the community, put it in the email, mention it in the classes. And yeah, I think we had them all back within about 4 days in the end. And it was, and that's, everyone just seemed willing to do it.
Thanks, James. I think so. Yeah, the response rate itself is a finding, which is that sense of, very often we kind of go, if we get 10, 20% response rate on a survey, that would be great. So I think there's something about that framing, that finding itself, that says that the fact that the enterprise has generated such a strong response already is a testament to how connected people feel to that part of the community. Amy, we'll take your question to James, and then we'll quickly introduce Tracy for her 5 minutes of fame, and then we'll let Cecile take us through the platform to wrap us up this morning. So, Amy.
Yeah, it wasn't a question. It was just to let people know who were on the journey, perhaps aren't online. The way we got people to collect our data is when we do our stoppy backs like once a month, we put scones and cakes out that my caterer friends makes and make it a bit of a social event as well. So it's not just like, getting them to do this and then rush off. There's a chance to just do the form and then, stop back and see friends and things like that. So we make it a little bit of a social event as well, just for people who are doing it in person rather than online.
That's a great
Older
idea.
adults and QR codes and stuff don't
Never
gel in
underestimate the power of cake.
Yeah. And just
Yeah.
sorry, just to add to that is that with an answer to your question, sorry, Leanne, is that like super clear instructions and like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click this link, follow this, you'll see this, blah blah blah. That's the one thing I've sort of learned from this demographic, is just make it so easy, and that might help you, Debbie, as well. Just
Okay, thanks, James. So, sort of next up on our selection of show and tell stories is Tracy. So Tracy's just kind of rushed in from having had emergency meetings with the Cabinet Office and the government about the vote that's going through Parliament tonight. More of that later. But Tracy, 5 minutes of fame in the spotlight, just to share a bit of your journey about reporting impact.
Sorry, I couldn't join earlier. I was delivering a session. I've literally just come from my seated dance class over to you. So that's what we do. We sort of like deliver sort of like dance therapy programs to support people with long-term health conditions. Just sort of like going over through Cecile's questions that she sent me through. I found this tool brilliant. I kind of started when I first started. I've always sort of like tried to measure our impact, and I originally, right at the beginning of our enterprise, we worked with a university, so we had academic evidence to back our program. So we've got a partner dance program and a seated dance program, both of which are backed with academic evidence. So and that has just been able to use some sort of evidence when you're applying for funding, when you're talking about your enterprise, and that is incredibly useful. And also when you're doing your social impact reports at the sort of like end of your year. So I've always been a firm believer in sort of like collecting those those bits of information. So when Cecile approached me as an Unlimited award winner to pilot the programme, I thought, great, let's have anything that we can use would be fantastic. It was an Unlimited have been amazing, incredibly supportive for me. So anything that I could do back, happy to do. I was absolutely blown away actually by how clever all the little graphs are, that they give you all the detail. And what's been really nice, in particular, because we have different pots of funding for different projects. So Cecile's been able to set up the program so the participants, so for example, I've got funding from Sport England, and I've got 2 classes that's going through that pot of funding. So we can then now isolate that funder and sort of like show the impact that fund is making. So when I have to do my report back to that funder, I've got these like wonderful graphs and things that I can sort of like put within that report to show what impact their money has made, and to the participants of the programme. So you know, I'm, you know, really happy to continue using this this tool. And to be fair, I kind of dropped in at the last 5 minutes when you were talking about getting at sort of like participants. So not all, I'm kind of halfway, I'm just about on the point of sort of like getting on, as my funding's coming to an end, to get all those final ones. So I will see a much bigger impact. So I've had a few sort of like do some secondary things, and it's already, the wellbeing thing's already showing progress. So when it's like at the end of the session, I think there's going to be a much bigger progress. But I've already got some great numbers that I can use. So I think it just adds a massive amount of credibility to what you do when you're talking about, when you're applying for other pots of funding. You can say we did this, and you know, we want to replicate it in this area or whatever. You've got that data to back up what you're doing. So you know, for me, that's really important, and a really, really valuable and brilliant tool. So, you know, thank you for letting me use it.
I think it's really interesting and encouraging, Tracy, as well, that point you pulled out about you can separate out the reporting to different projects and services in terms of that reporting. So Debbie mentioned earlier about how she'd been able to flex and adapt the framework so that it best aligned with different funders' interests. So as well as it giving you that core for what you need to know to manage the enterprise and services, it allows a much more kind of nuanced and flexibility when it comes to the reporting. So thank you for sharing some of that journey and story with us, Tracy. You are, unfortunately, in terms of what you mentioned there, in terms of the pressures of time, and there's a big clock ticking in the background, and Cecile still has a short segment as well to make sure that we cover all the content we needed to this morning. But Tracy, if people wanted to know more about your venture, if you could pop something in the chat, website or contact details, then people can follow up as well. That'd be great. Thank you.